KALB.com.
Welcome back to Live at 5. Joining us now on the show from our news center is Congressman Mike Johnson. First off, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Stephen, great to be in the studio.
Absolutely. So I want to start off with this. Of course, we've had another mass shooting over in Colorado this time. The president's calling for some legislation or executive actions for some gun control measures. What are your thoughts on those, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I can tell you, I heard what Julia Letlow said in an earlier segment. She's exactly right. We have to be jealously guarding the Second Amendment when tragedies like this occur. The latest tragedies in Georgia and Colorado are examples of people who are mentally disturbed and mentally ill. And the solution to gun violence is not to infringe upon the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. So we need to address the root causes of all this and not go after our constitutional rights.
Do you think that the heavily Democrat-controlled Congress will have a chance at getting gun control measures passed?
Well, you know, they have a very good chance of passing something through the House because they've got a slim majority there. But I do think there are some reasonable Democrats in the Senate that would work against that legislation. The things they have planned right now would lay the groundwork for national gun registries and all sorts of things. That is a very serious slippery slope for our Second Amendment. So we've got to be on guard for that every day.
The president's calling for an assault weapons ban and a ban on some high-capacity magazines. Tell us why you don't think that's a good idea.
Listen, sporting rifles don't kill people, as the old saying goes. It's disturbed and mentally ill people. So when I say that we've got to address the root causes of gun violence, what we need to do is address and properly fund mental health initiatives. We need to make our schools safer with necessary resources to handle all of that. We need to make sure that we have good communication and information sharing amongst the federal agencies in charge with law enforcement and making sure that these weapons don't get in the hands of people that are dangerous. It's not the weapons themselves. It's the people who use them, and we can do a whole lot better in preventing that kind of violence if we do those things.
Now, those measures that you just mentioned, are there efforts by the GOP in Congress right now to get some bills passed for that?
Well, yes, we have a number of ideas and legislation. The problem we have right now, Stephen, in Washington is we have a complete partisan breakdown, as everyone knows. It's a very toxic environment, and many of our Democrat colleagues, most of them, certainly the leadership, are not willing to work in a bipartisan fashion to address these issues. So we have legislation drafted, we have some filed, but we have very little chance of getting a hearing until we take back the majority in 2 years, and I think that we will do that.
I want to move to the border. It's been an issue, of course. The president's tapped Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the effort for the White House. What are your thoughts on the situation at the border, and what are some things you'd like to see changed?
Biden's border crisis is very serious, and we attribute it to him because it's his executive orders and his policies that have done this. He stopped the wall, the building of the wall, which Congress had already funded large parts of. He reinstituted the catch and release program that the previous administration, the Obama administration, had enacted. You know, they're releasing illegal immigrants into the U.S. without COVID tests in the middle of a pandemic and without court dates return when they have to come back and argue their asylum claims. So this is an unprecedented disaster. We have over 16,000 unaccompanied minors in custody of the U.S. right now, and that's the largest number we've had in many, many years. And we have had over 100,000 illegal crossings in February alone. That's a 173% increase over February of 2020. So this is a crisis. It's only growing by the day, and it alarms us the administration is unwilling to do anything about it. So I think the American people need to be duly concerned.
Yeah, it's a significant increase for sure, but it's also been an issue for many administrations. For the Trump administration, back in 2019, there was a heavy influx, too, with this situation. Do you think we'll ever see some long-term immigration reform? And what would it look like?
Well, what the Biden administration needs to do is return to the Trump policies. We had gotten control of that situation, and even at the peak in 2019 of unaccompanied minors, for example, this 16,000 that we have right now far exceeds that number, even at the worst in 2019. So it has a lot to do with the administration who's in charge and what policies they put forward. Look, all the migrants coming in from Central America and Mexico, they have said themselves that they're coming because of what President Biden has said. It's his rhetoric that is driving these large numbers of people. And you know, it increases human trafficking problems, and we have violent persons coming over the border. It's a serious problem. The president of Mexico said just in the last 24 hours, this is President Biden's doing, and President Biden is the one that needs to fix it.
I know you've been focusing on schools a lot, too, with the reopenings. A lot of the parishes around here are completely reopening at the time. What are your thoughts on that, and what are some things you're pushing for?
Well, you know, the CDC came out with their guidance on returning to schools in February, and they were not following the science. According to their guidelines, the first draft, they had about 89% of the students in the United States in what they called red zones, which is a severely restricted way. You know, middle school and high schoolers couldn't return almost at all under those guidelines. So I sent a letter on behalf of 59 members of Congress to the CDC asking them quickly to revise those and really follow the science. They did. March 19th, they came out with a revised version, which we were much more pleased with. And as you saw, they reduced the social distancing guidelines from 6 feet to 3 feet between students, which is a good start. You know, Congress has put a lot of money towards this COVID relief funds to get schools safely reopened, and we need to do that immediately because the mental health and other toll that it's taken on students and their families is a very serious thing, and we're going to be seeing the effects of that for many years to come, sadly.
Well, Congressman Johnson, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. Good to see you.
All right, we're right back.